Good morning. Today is the 29th of January, about 11:33 a.m. here in New York, and we will do our second session. I want to welcome you all. Thank you for being here. It's a Sunday morning, and I see that you are all committed. You want to learn, and I appreciate that. So let's begin with your questions. If you have any questions first, we have covered a 2-hour session yesterday, so you have attended that session. Probably you might have watched the video. If not, for sure we will make sure that you will have access to the videos starting from today. And if you have any questions, feel free. I particularly want to thank you, those of you folks who have submitted your assignments. I appreciate that again. And for the rest of you folks, please find time and submit your assignments. Because if you lag behind, you will find that as we progress further in this course, there is a lot of material that I would be covering, and then it becomes a little bit challenging at that time to catch up, right? So this is a good time to make sure that you keep on top of it. So do not procrastinate. Do not leave it off for some other time. You got to keep yourself on your toes and make sure that you are learning. And that can only be gauged if you complete your assignments. With that said, let us get started with today's class. Going back, yesterday I did cover the environment, right? How to set up the environment, meaning how to install Java on your machine, and probably you might have already downloaded all the browsers that you need to have. And we also talked about looking at the configuration of your machine. And the other stuff that I talked about was to make sure that you have downloaded Eclipse. We briefly looked at IDE yesterday, so I'm going to start off with IDE, spend a couple minutes on IDE, make sure that you understand it a little bit more, and then we will jump on to your Eclipse. And today we're going to be introducing ourselves a little bit to Java programming as well. So sit back, relax, and watch me doing it. Pay complete attention for the next 2 hours. And if you have any questions anytime, jump in. You can unmute yourself, talk to me, interrupt me, or you can even put it in the chat window. The idea here is the knowledge transfer must happen. So when you get out 2 hours from now, you should be much more smarter than how you came in. I mean, in terms of Java, I'm talking about. So you got to make sure that you learn, Java, Selenium in the next 2 hours. Grasp anything and everything I'm throwing at your way. All right. Okay, so let's get started. So yesterday we were looking at a couple of test cases. One of the test case was to make sure that we are able to go in here, click on the sign up, and enter some information. And we wanted to automate that process. And the way we decided that we would be automating that process is we'll be using Selenium IDE. So I talked about getting the Selenium IDE, a quick 2-minute refresher on that. So we Googled it. We said Selenium download, and when we did that, it brought us to this website. And on this website, I mentioned it to you, this is the Bible of Selenium. Anything and everything that you need, you should be able to find on this website. Not that you need to quickly run and start exploring it, because I will be pointing and highlighting every important thing that I need to highlight. I would be doing that. And then this can be like another source to reinforce your learning. If there is any curiosity about anything, you could just go into this website and the documentation and then look into that. But continuing, I will be looking into how we downloaded Selenium IDE. So if you scroll down a little bit, you will notice that over here, we have some information about Selenium IDE. Somebody asks you, what is Selenium IDE? We would say that, hey, it is a Firefox plugin. So at this point, you should have Firefox sitting on your machine, and you should be coming to this website using Firefox. Once you come over there, we will be clicking on this link because this is going to take you to the page from where you could download this plugin or the add-on. And Mozilla basically is your Firefox. So right here, I am on this page. I could add it to my Firefox. Now, we have already added it to our Firefox yesterday. It's not going to hurt if we do it one more time. Not that it is needed that you should do it every time, but for those of you folks who missed it yesterday, this is basically what I had done. I clicked on it, and it is trying to install this. It takes a blink of an eye because this is a very, very small piece of software that we are adding to Firefox. So when you say install, boom, it is installed. So right now, we will restart the browser, and once I restart the browser, we could take a look if this is installed or not rather. So the way we can confirm if it is installed or not is if you go to Tools, if you go right here, Selenium IDE, that tells us that this software is installed. Now, hang on for a second, 1 second. I guess somebody is, hang on for a second. If somebody is not muted, do me a favor, mute yourself because I see some static, unless you have a question. If you have a question, feel free to ask me. If you don't have a question, just mute yourself. Let me figure out who that is. Let's see. It could be somebody who called from a telephone as well. So if somebody from a telephone, then I would not be able to see. But try to make sure that you mute yourself. All right. Okay. There's so many that I cannot even go one by one to find out who it is. But okay. So coming back, we will look into how to use Selenium IDE. Okay. What's the purpose of Selenium IDE? It is going to record your actions. So my actions are not going to be on Yahoo, right? The actions are not going to be on Yahoo. The actions are going to be on the website where I would like to do my testing. So for that, I decided that we would be doing the testing for this TrainingRite.net. So I'm going to be here. And my first test case is this one, right? Sign up. So now that I want to record this, I have to go to Tools and I have to go to Selenium IDE, open it up. A little bit about this, even though we very briefly covered yesterday. Very first thing that you're going to be looking into is this recording or not? And that you could confirm if you bring your mouse to this, right? So I guess there is still somebody. Hang on for a second. Hang on for a second. Let me just figure it out who that is. Hang on for a second. Okay. Hang on. Probably. Let me know if for any reason, if you're not able to hear me. Let us see. I think we kind of like resolved it, but let me see. Okay, I have muted you all, so now we don't have that static that is coming to us. If anyone needs to be unmuted, you know, put that in the chat window, and I will make sure that I will go ahead and unmute you, and you should be able to talk to me. But you should be able to hear me. So one quick thing. can you all hear me? Just say yes in the chat window. Okay. If you say yes, then I would know that you are able to hear me. Okay, beautiful. Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, I see that you guys are able to hear me. Beautiful. Okay, let's move on. Let your questions come in if you have any questions. There are two reasons. Usually people, they don't have any questions, right? There are two reasons for that. One is probably you are a little bit shy, or you don't really are paying complete attention or not participating. So that could be one reason. You just hear just for the heck of it, and you can't wait to get out, and I hope it's not that. Or the second reason is I might be so good that you don't have any questions. So if that's the case, it's very good. But if the first case, then we really need to talk about it, right? So anyways, I was just kidding there. So coming back, let's talk about this interface itself first before we do any testing. So when we open it, the first thing you got to be paying attention to is, are we recording right now or not? As you see, it is now recording, meaning that if I do any action on the browser, it records it here, right? Okay, so a few of the other things that I think we should be looking into is right here on the top. These are the menu items, right? Menu items, and then base URL is the URL of the application that we are going to test, right? And then this is while we are playing it back, right? So while we are playing it back, if you need to pause it, if you need to slow it down, if you need to run more than one, we would come here. If it is just one, we could do that. This is how we're going to be saving the test cases, the names of the. Right now it's untitled because I have not saved anything, because I have not recorded anything. So there can be one or more than one test cases recorded in any order. As you see here, we could be moving the order as well. So right now, let's quickly go ahead and then record one of the test cases. So to record it, I will just minimize it. As you can see, I'm just going to go ahead and minimize. Before I do that, if you take a look in the menu items, this says file. So if you are creating a new test case, it would be like that. If you need to open one from the earlier session, you could just go open, and then this will take you to wherever we saved it. So I know, as a matter of fact, I did save one yesterday, so I could just click on that and hit open, and as you can see, this is what it is showing right now. So this we did yesterday. This is the test case, and you kind of like followed it when I did that yesterday, and this is the name of that test case. So if you want to make any changes to it, let's say it's not Gayatri, you want to put in somebody else, so you could come in here, give the name change should be done here. Let's say that's the name change that we did, and if you want to just go ahead and then save the test, you could do that. And if you are going to basically go ahead and then add or create a new test case, you could do that by clicking on new test case. So this is there, right, and this is the new one. So if you don't want anything like that, you could just go in and you could start off fresh here. Okay, now that we talked a little bit about that, let me just go ahead and then create a new one. The new one that we are going to create again is this sign up. As you can see, this sign up. So I can minimize it. I can minimize it and start to perform some actions on my browser. So in order to run, if everything is working good or not, we will be doing our testing, right? So as we perform any actions during the testing, it's going to be recording in the background. So I will do a sign up. That's a button. Probably I clicked on that, and then here I go and I entered. I should be entering some information. So let me enter some information like that, right? I will never put your first name, so or your last name rather. So I'm going to call you Mr. Selenium, and let's say this is that dot Selenium at outlook.com, let's say, or youtlook.com. So I'm just going to change it to TrainingRite.com. And the password, we're going to put the password as password, and the verify password. It can be anything, but I just wanted it to be something easy. Now, the home phone number, most of the numbers, I might have used, or some of the previous students might have used. So we're just gonna, randomly pick some numbers. So 753-954-321. All right. So let's say that's going to be the cell phone as well. And here I'm going to say that this is coming from day 2 of February 2017 batch. So that way we know that. And this is Abdul's profile so something like that. All right. Okay. So when I do all that, I'm going to hit submit. Now, take a look. Yesterday, I covered a portion of it. Today, I'm going to be taking it to the next step. So when you click on submit, if everything goes all right, it gives you this message, right? Customer information added successfully. Now, in testing, as you all know, you being manual testers, you already know that there is something called verification, right, or assertions, just to make sure that there is, when you perform something, you expect a certain type of result, right? So there is an expected value, and then there is an actual value. So let's say the expected value is when you enter some information in there, it should give you a message called customer information added successfully. So the actual value is if it is actually giving you that message. So how can we make sure, how can we check, how can we verify, how can we assure, or how can we assert that? Now notice that I have used some word like verify, check, assure, or if you go to some other tool, there is something called a checkpoint in QTP or UFT, but if you have not done anything like that, so don't worry about it. So let me just tell you that we are going to verify that the message that I got is that the message that we got is called the actual value. So there should be an expected value. So is the expected value equal to the actual value? And the way you can do that is, again, you come here, highlight that text, right click on that. And when you right click, notice it gives you few options here. Now there's something called assert, verify, store, blah, 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 right? Okay, let me go and look at all the commands. So if I hover, if I bring my mouse over all the available commands, we see some on the right side. So let's pay attention to, at least 2 or 3 things in there. There's something called assert, and then there is something called verify, and then there is something called store. This wait for text for now, just don't worry about it. So 3 things: that assert, verify, and store. Now let's very briefly talk about the difference between all 3, and then I will continue on the test. So if you look at basically those things, there is something called assert, and then there is something called verify, and then there is something called store. Okay, so let's say here is your test case, right? So this is 1 step, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So this is step number 1, whatever it is, right? Step number 2, 5, 6, 7. So at some point, let's say at this point, we want to check, right? So the English word is we want to check. So there are 3 ways of checking. You could assert, you could verify, or you could store the value into it. What is assert? Assert again means that, okay, I assert, assertion, I assert. That means that I state that A and B are equal. So there will be, in assert, there will be two values. Let's say A, B, and I am saying that A and B, they are equal, right? So in this case, in we are doing assert, there will be something called, let's say, expected value, right? And there is the actual value, right? So now I am saying that these two are equal. When we use assert, that means that the expected value and actual value, they are equal. If they are equal, the assertion will pass, and it will move to the next step, and on the next step we might be continuing something else, right? Continuing something else. So that is assertion, right? Now if assertion fails, if they are not equal for whatever reason, then the test will not continue, right? The test will fail, and we will not go to 5, 6, and 7, right? Or other steps will not go to. Whereas verify, even if the verification fails between the two, we can still continue with the test. So interview question, they will ask you, hey, how can you, if you have to check for an expected value and the expected value, and if they fail, and if you still would like to continue, how would you do that? Then you would say that, okay, I'm going to verify that and not use assert, because if I use assert, then assert is going to stop if the values, they do not compare as equal with one another, meaning that the expected and the actual value, they don't compare, right? Store is simply going to store the value and continue with it, all right? Okay, so with that, let us see which one we want. So right click on that. When we come here, I can go, every time we could take something different and go with it. So I'm going to go and take assert text, meaning that assert the text or that message, customer information added success. That's what I want. And that is at this location, this CTL. And we'll talk about these locators and all that very quickly in future, in the next hour or so. But before that, right now, let's take a look into this assert, and I have added that, and I am done with my test. So I'm done with my recording. So when I come in here, I'm going to stop it. Okay, so now if you look into it, these are the steps, and let me just go ahead and then save this. So file, and I'll say save test case as, and let me call it day two of and new member already, right? So TrainingRite February 27, a new member, test case, let's say. Okay, day 2. Okay, beautiful. Okay, once I hit save, that's the name that we have given it, right? I just maximized it, if you notice something different. So that's what it was. I maximized it so that we all could see it. Now, if you take a look into these commands, the commands open means that it is going to go, and this / means this address. It is going to go to the base address, right? Okay, then after that, so that means that, and let me just stop. Did I stop it? Yeah, I did stop it. So let me just go back and show you that we would have, it would have, wherever we are, let's say if we were at Yahoo, it would have taken you here with this, it would have taken you here. It would have brought you here to this, with this open TrainingRite, it would have brought you here, wherever we were. And the next one, click and wait, that means that, okay, we are going to click and wait on this CSS input submit button. Now, we don't know where this is on this page. Let's say this is a big page. We don't know where it is. So what you can do is you can highlight this line and say find. So when you do that, right, and I don't know if we could see it, but when you do that, it is going to flash very fast in here. So if you see, so that means that that's the button that we are talking about, click and wait. So it is going to click on this and wait on that. Then once you do that, right, it goes here, right? So now what are we going to do? Here we are going to type Abdul. So we are going to type Abdul where? Where are we going to type? We are going to type Abdul in this ID is basically the way you can find out where you are. Now, I want you to listen to me for the next 2-3 minutes. Pay all attention to listen to me. Okay? All right. When you have a web page, the web page probably is not going to be as simple as this, right? Because when you go in real life, yesterday I showed you, some of the applications. They are pretty rich in presentation, in visualization. There's a lot of like pictures going on in here, and then you have like images, you have a lot of text. Why am I doing this training, right? Because I want to remove all that clutter, right? Something that can take away your focus. I want to exclude that, and I want to bring your focus, your attention to the test that we are doing. So I happen to remove all those messages or all those pictures and all those things, and we are paying attention to this. So in real life, you might have like a lot of other things in here, like you would have some banner up here, you would have some other text here, maybe a video is playing here, maybe some links are here, maybe some. So our test is about these guys, right? Okay, so we are supposed to enter something into this first name. First name is a label here, and this is an element. A web page is made up of elements. It is made up of elements. What is an element? A text box is an element. A calendar is an element. A checkbox is an element. In this case, I'm not using too many other elements because it's a very first test case, so I want to keep your focus so that you understand the foundation of testing, and then we can, in the next test case, I will bring you a very complex application wherein we have so many other things going on, right? So for now we are here, and this is I am going to enter something into this box, right? In English we call it text box, but in Selenium terminology, this is referred to as an element, web page element. So this is a web page element. Now, let's say there are 5 kids, and I use the word kids, right? 5 kids or 5 men or 5 women or 5 girls or 5, whatever, sitting, let's say, on a bench, right? And you are watching them. They're sitting probably like 20 feet from where you are standing right now. There are 5 cute little kids are sitting there, 5 of them. Now you want to tell your friend who is standing next to you, hey, look at that kid. Now your friend would say, which one? Which one? So think about it. These are like 5, 6, 7 kids. So if you want to say, hey, look at that kid, so you would say, hey, look at that third kid or the 4th kid from the right, from the left. Or you would say, look at that kid who has a green shirt or pink trouser, or red shoes. So these are the ways of identifying that particular kid, right? So how do you identify a particular element on a page? So in order to identify an element on the page, so that's called locators. You have to locate an element. So the way you can locate an element, right? Locate an element on a page. So the way you could locate is, you could say that I want you to type something into the verified text password. So we immediately come in, because a human mind can see things like, as we see here, it is reading these things and then it is behaving according to that. Selenium is a robot. It's a software. It's a program. So Selenium, the way Selenium understands is not English, right? The way Selenium locates an element on a page is using attributes or properties. Now What do you mean by attributes? The way to distinguish a person. Let's say if there are 5 sitting there, I told you, one with the blue trouser or pink this or red this. So that's basically the attribute of those 5 kids, right? Now, as far as element, what are the attributes? You could also identify those kids by their names, right? If you know the names, you can identify those kids by the name. So the attributes of that kid, or the attribute of the element, is you can identify that element on a web page by its name if you know the name. You can also identify by ID, right? Let's say back in India we used to have roll numbers. 32, yes miss, yes sir, right? So let's say those are like ID. Or here in America, let's say if they want to call you out for the pizza pickup, your token ID is 104. So when you call 104, you rush, right? So that's ID, name. Or you could also get identified by something called, let's say, XPath. So what is XPath? So this is 5 kids sitting, right? So you would say that, oh, from the left, third kid from the left. So this is the first kid, second kid, third kid from the left. So XPath is a way of uniquely identifying an element based on its location from the beginning of the page. So from the beginning of the page, if you need to come here, you should be using XPath. Now, the question is, there are different ways, right? And few other ways that I'll be talking about, like the CSS class path, and then the link text and stuff like that. So when we hit a write element, I will talk about, what are the other various way of identifying an element on a page. So right now, let's say these 3, right? Okay, so if you have to locate an element on a page, you should know its attributes. The attributes could be name, ID, XPath, partial link text, or the CSS class, or things like that. All right. Okay. So if you come back here and if you look into it, it is saying, see here, CSS. CSS means it's an attribute. It's a property of a web element, a cascade style sheet, right? So any element that has a cascade style sheet. Cascade style sheet is like a style. So when you wake up in the morning, right, you just don't go to work just getting off the bed, right? So, or if you're going to a party, you just don't, go to the party just like that. You will make sure that you stand in front. I mean, I can talk about my, situation in my house. I could dress up probably like in, maybe I'm not exaggerating, maybe like 3 to 5 minutes it'll take, right? And it's a common feature. Women take a little extra time, and that extra time could range from 45 minutes to maybe an hour and a half, depending on who you are. And I do not understand why you have to look yourself in the mirror 10 times in 2 minutes. What is going to change there in 2 minutes? And you just move away from the mirror, and then you come back and then take, what is going to change there? I don't ever do that, but I have, anyway. So the idea here is putting that makeup or that style is going to temporary change you, right? So this CSS is like that style that you're putting. So let's say somebody putting a too dark of a red lipstick. Somebody's putting, even they have black or whatever lipstick these days, right? So this CSS could be that style putting on that button. So okay, look at that, who is wearing the pink lipstick. So that CSS is that, right? Or if you know ID is probably their, let's say their identification could be by name or maybe by their, whatever, right? Maybe, just take the social security number, whatever, maybe the phone number. So something like that. So there are different ways of identifying or locating an element. These IDs, names, CSS, these are given by the developers. So a developer, when he was building this page, he decided to use certain attributes to name this, to locate this. So they might have used, any attribute. So if you hit, let's say, if you would like to find out what it is, if you hit, let's say, F12, it would show something depending on, certain tools that you need to install on your computer or on your browser in order to identify, if you want to identify an element. So if the Selenium wants to identify, it already goes into something called the source code. And not that I want you to know this, but if you right click on it and if you go into view page source, you're going to see a lot of stuff in here. Whoa, you say, what is that? There's a lot of stuff in here, right? Okay, so I don't expect you to know this. This is called HTML. If you know HTML, good for you. If you don't know HTML, not a problem. Not a problem. Because the idea here is to understand what we are trying to do here, right? Now, when you're driving a car, it's not necessary that you should be a mechanic of a car. You should be knowing everything of that car. You need not know the mechanics of that car. You need not know how to repair the car. You could still be using a car. So if you are automating this test case, you need not know HTML and all that. You could still get away. But you need to know some basic things. The basic things is, how can I find out the attributes of this? If you say that, hey, I am curious how to find out the attributes of this, right? Okay, if you need to find out the attributes of it, if you need to find out the attributes, the way you could do that is, if you need to find out, some new person joining in, and okay. So if you need to find out the attributes, the way you could find out the attributes of any element is if you download, a few things on your machine. So basically what you do is you go in here and you go to Google and you say download Firebug. So what is Firebug? And you should be doing it using Firefox. So what is Firebug? Let's go in here to get it. But what is Firebug? So basically what Firebug is a tool, right? It's a tool that helps you to identify and locate the elements on a web page. So first we need to download it, and the way you download is you just go download Firebug, and you do that using Firefox, right? Using Firefox, you go in there and then you say Firebug. You could use any link, really doesn't matter, whatever link it is. So basically what it is it is the most popular and powerful web tool. It inspects the HTML and it helps you to interrogate and find out what are the attributes of it. So let's install the Firebug. So it really doesn't matter which link you would use. So when you click on that, you came here. So here, the current stable version is 2.17. Now this depends, which one to install depends on what version of Firefox we have. So if you notice, I have Firefox 45. Right? So if you have anything between 33 and 47, this is a stable version. If you have anything before 33, which nobody probably would have right now, so they could use that. But for now, we can use this one. So when I click on it, right, it is going to bring me to this add-on, and I could add into it. So what is Firebug again? Firebug integrates with Firefox to put a wealth of tools at your fingertips while you browse. You can edit, debug, monitor, CSS, HTML, JavaScript on any live page. So bottom line is, when you add it, right, it takes a couple of seconds to install, and I install. It did install automatically. Now, after it gives you this message, right, just go back to your page, right, and go into Tools and look for this Web Developer and Firebug, right? Firebug. So if this doesn't show, you can close the browser, open the browser again, and go into Tools, and it should show this Web Developer. So go navigate to your application that you need to test, right? And go to the page. Let's say you go in here, and let us see the attributes of this. So the way you could do that is go bring it up, go into Firebug, open Firebug, or you could use the shortcut F12 is a shortcut. Once you do that, this part would show up. See here, this part would show up. Now, pay attention for a couple of seconds in here. Basically, what I need to do is I need to use this one. See this one? This one I need to use. So next to this bug, this is basically something that helps you to click an element on the page to investigate or to basically inspect it. So once I click on it, now notice these things. That means that I have not selected it yet. Once you come in here, once you click on it, that is selected. And in this blue line that is highlighted, look into this either ID. So if you see here, ID, and then there is also a name. So the developer who built this page, right, in this case yours truly. So basically I have used ID and name as the attributes to describe this element. So the name is that, ID is that. So if you need to find out anyone, you could simply click on this one, go and click on that, and that tells you ID and name. So ID and name is good. But if you recall, a minute ago I said you could find out the ID, you could find out the name, and I also mentioned something about XPath. And I said XPath is a way of locating the element uniquely from the beginning of the page. All right. So for the beginning of the page, what we do is we need to use the XPath. So for XPath, if you see here, for XPath, we need to download this Firepath. The Firepath will not come automatically. So I have it on my machine, so it is showing you the Firepath. But in your case, you have to say download Firepath. So when you say download Firepath, you will get the link to the Firepath. You could go in there, and then you could add to the Firefox. So the Firepath is a Firebug extension, meaning that you have to have Firebug first before Firepath is installed. All right. So since we installed it already, so you could just click on it, install it, and then restart it, and then it should be there now. And basically we could go, and then we could go to this page, and basically we could check now for anything. So when we come in here, when we go do F12, which I'm doing right now, this Firepath is showing up, and if you click on anyone, see here what you see here, and I'm just going to copy this so that we could see it in Notepad in a big font. So if you see, it starts with a period, with a dot, and then two forward slashes and an asterisk. That means that if you see, I intentionally clicked on email. Email is not necessarily the first one on this page. There is this something TrainingRite GUI, and then there is, if you see here, you could hardly see, there are some links also there. There are some links there, right? And then you have this first name and last name, and then this email address. So email address is not necessarily the first one. So what we are saying is XPath is always, you will start with this dot, and you will say \\\asterisk. That means that, hey, I am looking for something. I'm looking for something, right? Whose ID is this, right? But I don't want to use the ID. I want to use the XPath. So XPath is this 2 forward slashes and star means that I don't care. I don't care what is there before an element, wherever the element is whose ID is this, exclude everything before that, and then find that element whose ID is this, and find it by XPath. Now, you would say, when the ID is already there, why are you even looking at the XPath? Why can't we just use the ID? Sometimes this ID will not be there. So let me give you an example of that. So let's say if I go in here and click on this one, right? This one, right? That also has an ID. So let me just go back and look into this one. I'll give you an example. In this one, probably this doesn't have an ID. So let me just go. Yeah. Hang on. Let's go to some page where they might not have it. So go here. All right. So I mean, majority of them they're using. This is called basically using your ID here is if you have selected your show entire DOM. Let me select the generate absolute path. So if you go under this, right, and say generate absolute path, do that setting and remove this and close the browser and then open it back again, and let us go back to this TrainingRite, right, and let us bring F12, and with the new settings here of generate absolute XPath, let me just locate this guy using the XPath. So if we come here and do that, now if you see, there is no ID and then there is no nothing. This tells you there is no period or dot and 2 forward slashes. What this tells you is we are using something called the absolute XPath, meaning that from the beginning of the page, HTML, body, table, we have come to this point. So there are two ways of locating using XPath attribute. There are two ways of locating an element. Either you could use the absolute XPath or you could use the entire DOM. DOM, by the way, is document object model. So in it, it will still try to take your attributes if they are available, like ID, name, or whatever. If not, you could use the absolute XPath. So what we will do in here is we will try to use XPath, we will try to use IDs and names and all that when we do the programming ourselves with our own hands. Right now, we are using the test case that we have recorded, right? So what I'm going to do is I will, now that you have little idea of it, let me just go and quickly do the recording one more time. So we come in here, Selenium IDE, and I'm going to go, this is already recording, so I will minimize and I will start to click on this one, and I come in here and I will do Shailaja and let's say Selenium, and as I say Shailaja dot Selenium at TrainingRite.com, and this is password, that is password, and the phone number is 357-951-2589. Let's say I'm gonna copy that so that I remember. This would be the, and this I would be saying Shailaja's profile entered on day 2 of February 2017. Okay, all right, and when I let me just store her phone number because I will not remember. Okay, once I hit that, I want to set assertion on this one. So right click on that, go into show all commands, and I will go into assert text at this location. That's what I was trying to make you understand. And once I do that, my test case is over. So I'm just going to come back in here, all this, stop that, and I will save this test case, save test case as, and I'll give it a name. Let's say this is for let's say for Silaja, let's say, right? And I will save it. Okay, now I will completely move away from here. I'm gonna go some other place. I don't know where, so maybe I'll go to this whatever that is, some link I will go to, right? And I would like to run my test now. So in order for me to run my test, I will make sure that I bring it slow, and I could click on this and run. Okay, so as we are running, these steps would run, and you could see in the browser what is happening, and you could also, now if you need to focus on this one, you could also toggle this. You could close, and you could click here to open it, or you could make some space like that, because you need to see all green here, or if it is failing, you need to see why it is failing and all that. So let's run. So when I do that, it will change now to TrainingRite.net. Okay, it should click on that, and it should type Silaja, it should type Selenium, and at the end, it should also assert. Look at the last command now. It is asserting that they are equal, and it is passing the test. Beautiful. So we have a way of automating by recording, and that's what we have seen so far, right? Okay, beautiful. Now, in real life, the Selenium IDE is not necessarily the tool that you would be using. Remember, I told you that I will give you a secret of Selenium IDE. I'm going to give that secret today. But before I give out that secret, I just have to let you know that Selenium IDE is not necessarily used in the industry to do our daily work, because if automation was this easy, they would have not paid you $50, $55, $60 an hour to do automation. Because you agree with me that almost with a little bit of learning that we did in less than 2.5 hours, we already know as how to do basic automation. So if this was everything, then the whole world will become Selenium automation testers. They would earn like $50, $55 if it was this easy. So there's more to it. What is more to it? They want to do lot of testing with different sets of data, meaning that they want to see where it will fail, when it will fail. So we have to try different combinations. The different combinations is, let's say I have to change this name, Silaja. I have to change the name, and I have got to do something so that it can fail. So not that there's anything to do with Silaja as a name, but I want to make sure that when is it failing, right? So is it normal behavior of an application to fail if we put, let's say, numbers, right? Now, so in your documentation, they will give you the expected values. Now, not every time they are going to give you everything, right? Sometimes we also have to come up with something called negative testing. Negative testing is we will make that that call as when should this application fail. So first name should not technically take. I mean, what part of the world you have numbers as the first name? So it technically should not take numbers as the first name, right? So you feel that when you put numbers as the first name, it should not take it. So you are trying that, right? So you change that to numbers, right? Or you also feel that it's not just the numbers, but you also should not have something like this. Let's say a name cannot be, let's say this was a valid name. So a name cannot be, let's say, this long, right? It should fail. So, I mean, we know that some names, particularly from southern part of India, I guess you have a name, we have some consultants, and their name, boy, it is such a long name. Their name, their father's name, their town's name, their everything. So, I mean, you could hardly fit that name. So maybe the condition is the name should have a certain length, and beyond that it should not go. So there are some validations that are done when you build an application. Validations are done on the client side here, or this information is actually, what do you think they're doing with this information? They're taking this information and saving it into a database, right? So the validation could be done at the back end on the database, so that when it is saving it into a table will allocate a certain length of a string. So maybe first name cannot be more than 30 characters or maybe 40 characters. So you are trying to beat that by putting in such a long string and seeing if it is actually taking it or not taking it. So based on your data, you have to run multiple tests. Now notice that every time you are changing the data, you have to manually enter it here. So that's not automation then. In an automation, you have to have everything done automatically. You should not be sitting there and doing it, because it becomes more like a manual testing then. So how can you automate such things? For that, IDE is not necessarily the tool, right? Because IDE is basically something that will help you do one iteration, one test at a time. And for some other test, you have to change these things. So in order to do things like that, and in order to like put some intelligence into your testing. Let's say if, right, the assertion fails, right, you want to do something, maybe like change the color, or print the report, or send an email, or so all those things are not here. For that, you have to build a script. You have to write a script. So how do you build, how do you write a script? So for that, you have to go into a tool called Eclipse. So let me ask you this question. Even though I covered whatever I covered of IDE, and we will revisit, because remember I told you about the secret and all that, so I'm going to come back and revisit this. But before I do that, any particular questions you have on IDE? Because temporarily I will not be coming back to it for at least for the next 45 minutes or so, because I'll take you into Eclipse, and then in the last 10 minutes I will come back here to show you that secret. But before that, let me ask you this question. Any thing you want me to address here about IDE, or we are good to go? If you're good to go, if you don't talk to me, we are good to go. If you don't say anything, then I have a few people who respond to what I am asking, and I have some people who decide to not respond. So the whole idea is I am asking you a question that is, if you're okay with, if you're silent, that means that you're okay with it, right? So I will take that as an answer from you that you are okay with IDE, and now we are moving into Eclipse. So why do you have to go into Eclipse? The reason you have to go into Eclipse is because you want to build your own script, and you just don't want to rely on the recording. You have to write your own script. So to write your own script, there is basically a process that you have to follow. All right. So let me just talk about it. So and very quickly, I'm not gonna tell you stories and all that here. Very quickly, I will show you the process. In the objective here is using Eclipse, we have to be writing our own scripts, building our own script. So in Eclipse, the way it is done is, first of all, you have to install Eclipse, that I showed you yesterday how to do that. After the installation of Eclipse is successful, make sure that you create a workspace, right? So step number one is create your workspace, right? So that I showed it to you yesterday already. So this is a one-time thing. This is a one-time, right? So so we already did that. So more important is so these three things: A, B, and C. So what you have to do is, after you have created your workspace in Eclipse, you have to create a Java project, right? So while you create a Java project, there are a few things that you have to, it'll ask you to answer a few questions. So there are a few things that we have to be answering to create a Java project. Once you create a Java project, the objective here is using Eclipse, right? So this is Eclipse, let's say. In Eclipse, you will be writing some code. This is some code, right? This is code. This code is using Java language. So to do this, you have to create, A is you have to create a project, right? So you will create a project, and inside this project, this code that you are typing, that code goes into a class. So create a class. For now, think about a class as an area or as a place where you would whoa, you scare me. So think of a class as an area where you will be typing your code. But the code actually precisely goes into what is called a function. So we create a Java project, we create a class, and while creating a class, again, we have to answer a couple of questions, which I'll show it to you, and then create a function. Right? So we'll be talking about all this in the next 45 minutes or so. I'll be talking about all of these things. And function is where you will actually be typing your code, typing your Java code. All right? Okay. So, and this Java code is nothing but your test case, right? And in a test case, you notice that there are test steps. So let us come up. The strategy, the process is, let us come up what test case we have, and let us come up with what is the test step, and then try to convert that into Java code. So first thing is, as newbies, as we are new to it, so let's do it in English first. Let's do these test case and test steps in English, and then try to convert that in Java code. So basically, you are responsible for typing the Java code, so which is nothing but creating the script. So typing the Java code, in other words, is nothing but building the automation script. So I mean, I don't want you to build the script on the fly. So first of all, let us come up with those steps. So to come up with the steps, let me just go in here and come up with the objective. What's the objective, or what's the test case here, right? The test case objective is, or the objective is to test the new member functionality of the TrainingRite website, right? So in other words, we want to make sure, in other words, when we enter a new user info, web page should take the info and say customer information added successfully, right? Okay, I mean, in just simple, very simple words. I'm just, defining that this is the test case. Okay, now to implement it, these are my test steps. All right, so step number one, we have to go there, right? So we have to open a browser, right? And it doesn't matter which one of the browsers. So we have Firefox, IE, Edge, Chrome, Opera, we have Safari, we have right? So open a browser, right? And step two, navigate to the application under test, right? So what is the application that we are testing? It is www, right? TrainingRite.net, correct? Okay, once we go there, what is step number three? Step number three is, let me just do it. So when we go here, when we come to this web page, right? Step number three is click on this sign up, right? So I would say click on sign up, I don't know, maybe it's a button or whatever, right? Okay, after that, step number four is when I click on this sign up, right? When I click on sign up, then I come to this page, right? So we can, on this page, I will say, and I'll type it a little faster, enter first name, and I'll put the data in the double quotes, let's say, right? So maybe this is, let's say, hang on for a second, let me see, you, and I will say, okay, Kiran, right? Easy to type. Kiran can be a guy's name as well as a girl's name. So forgive me if I say it the other way. But let's say enter first name as Kiran. Then, according to my application, enter last name, right, as, let's say, Selenium, and 6, enter email as kiran.selenium@trainingrite.com. All right, and step number 7, enter password as password. Step number 8, enter verify, bear with me, password as password, right? And enter phone, home phone, as I don't know, 951-783-4125, right? And this is step number 9, right? And I'm just going to copy this. Step number 10, I would say enter, what's that, cell phone? Could be the same number. And step number 11, enter instructions. And instructions, let's say this is Kiran profile entered on something, right? Day 2 of so this is February 2017. Okay, last but not the least is step number 12. Assert that we get a message, and I don't know that message, but customer information, I'm expecting, added successfully. Okay, all right, beautiful. So we have this test case. Now, so these are the English steps for the test case. Let me just save it, and Believe it or not, for newbies, this is going to help you a lot in learning. So this, I would say, uh, uh, day 2, February 2017, new member test case in English, right? So, okay, so that's fine, right? Okay, so we saved it. I'm going to keep it like that. Okay, now that I have this, now I need to implement using the Eclipse, right? Okay, so let's go and open Eclipse. So here I go, and this was from yesterday, so I'm just going to open it. And once I open it, I need to make sure that I have a workspace. And if you recall, yesterday we set up that workspace, and as you can see, it is opening to that workspace. All right, so I'm good with that, and I hit OK. Once I hit OK, it's going to take a couple of seconds, depending on how fast of a machine you have. It's going to spin in the back, and then basically load all of these things that it needs to load, and then it basically opens the interface. Now, this is create a Java project. Okay, so to create a Java project, if you recall, I said there are some questions that we need to answer, and those questions are like, first of all, it'll bring you to this main page, the welcome page. I'm gonna X out of it, and the very first thing that I have to make you understand is this tool is a little bit of a complex tool, in the sense that there is a lot of stuff on this tool. So if you see, there is so many things up here, right? So many things up here in terms of the menu, and then there's so many things up here, and then there is this package explorer, and then if you see here, there is something called outline, there is something here, there is something in the bottom here, right? So there's so many things going on. Okay, first things first. The idea here is I want to open a Java project. So if I go File and say New, right, you are seeing Java project. Sometimes you don't see that Java project. You will say that, how come I don't see that? Basically what happens is, this tool that we have downloaded, if you see here, this Eclipse, right, that we have downloaded, this Eclipse is we downloaded for Java developers, right? Java developers. Sometimes what happens is, if you downloaded, let's say, a different version or whatever, so it will not show you the Java project. You can set it up to show you the Java project. That happens if you take a look here. You pay attention to this area. It is called perspective. So if you see here, this is the perspective. So if we are not in the Java perspective, we should be in the Java perspective. If we are not in the Java perspective, if we are in some other perspective, then it will not show you. As an example, we could be, let's say, we could be in a different, let me just move it a little bit. We could be in a different perspective. Let's say we are, just for the heck of it, somewhere there, right? Now, if you do a File and New, now notice you're not seeing Java project. That means that if you don't see Java project here, that means that we are not in the right perspective. So we got to click on this open perspective and choose Java and hit that, and now we are in the right perspective. Now we have to follow this, which is create a Java project. While creating a Java project, there will be some questions, so here we go. So File, New, Java project. So here are the questions that we need to answer. Number one, what is the name of the project name? Let's say these are TrainingRite tests. Right? Usually we will have to do some regression testing and all that, right? So we are doing based on a build. So let's say this is a build, and you could have every company have their own way of naming their builds. So usually it could be like a combination of like your sprint that's going on right now, right? What part of the backlog catalog that you have been pulling these test cases from and stuff like that. So right now, just to keep it simple, I'm going to call it 01/29/2017. So that's the build that we are talking about. So TrainingRite tests, multiple tests that we would be doing. So this is what it is. So look at the location where it is going to save. This is going to save in Selenium Eclipse workspace February 2017. That's my workspace, right? So that's what it is saying. Now it is saying what version it is going to be using, right? The JRE version and all that. So if you see here, it picked it up automatically because I have 1.8, 1.7, so it picked it up automatically. So that's fine. So you just use that. No need to touch anything in here. And then you do a next. So basically, we are just giving it a name and then going to the next one. So after we go to the next one, now there are basically 4 tabs here, that, right? So these 4 tabs. Now the most important one from these tabs is the libraries. So we got to go into the libraries in here. Now, since it's a Java project, we have all the Java related libraries. Now the question is, what the heck is a library? What is a library? So in programming, right, we have all something called objects and classes. So what is an object? What is a class? I will eventually come to a solid definition of that. Today, think about it as some code, So that code, anybody can write a code. If you write a code, it's usually called, not the system library. This is your own library when you call that. But if it is a system library, that means that it's the code written by the Java guys, right? Who built Java as a language. So Eclipse, when you install Eclipse out of the box, if you're using a Java project, all those libraries, all those programs are already here. So they are packaged together, they are put together in logical groups, and when you put something together, it is called a jar, J-A-R, right? Jar files. So Java archive resources. So it's basically it's putting these pieces together. So you just have to see that these libraries, they come together. Now, when you go to a books library, what is a books library? It's a collection of books. When you go into a library, you'll find like hundreds of books that you don't have in your house. That's why you go to a library. And in a library, the way they arrange it is like, okay, for drama, there is a section. For fiction, there is a section. For history, there is a section. For geography, there is a section. For politics, there is a section. So that's like logically grouping of the books based on the categories. So likewise here, there's a jar files for everything. There is jar files. You and I, you don't really have to worry about it. They put together all that. We don't have to worry about it. Just the fact that this library is there. Now, when we are using Java project, what is the objective? Why we are using the Java project? We are using the Java project to do the testing, right? Testing of an application which runs in a browser. So what is responsible for doing the testing? QTP can do the testing, right? Ranorax is another tool that can do the testing. So here we are using Selenium. So Selenium is not necessarily the integral part of Java library. So Selenium is, let's say, is another library that you have to add to this project. So you have to add those jar files. Now, where are you adding? When you click on this add external jar file, when you click on it, it will take you into your computer. But do you have Selenium jar files on your machine? So first thing is here, if you see here, out of so many questions while creating the Java project, some of the questions was, okay, name and all that. So name of the project that we did. The other thing is system library. We got to make sure system library of Java files, Java jar files, and all that. And then we have Selenium jar files we have to add, right? So now the question is, Selenium jar files you have to first download and only once download Selenium jar files, right? Okay. Now the question is, where can we download it from? So let's go here and go to Google. Life is very simple these days. I mean, you know, compared to when I was starting my career in the 1996, 1997, internet was just coming out. There was not much. Yahoo was like the only website, and you could hardly search anything. There was nothing there. Today, you know, more than you love your wife or your husband, you should love your Google, because there's pretty much everything. No, you should not do that. You should love your spouse. But what I'm saying is Google is important. So go and say download Selenium. So when you say download Selenium, you could also say download Selenium jar files or things like that. So whatever you say, it still brings you back to the same Selenium HQ.doc. And when you go in there, now when you need to download for Selenium IDE, also we came in here, right? So remember we came and we download. Now you might be downloading the jar files for Java, right? You might be downloading the jar files for C#, for Ruby, for Python, for whatever, right? So you could do that. You could just individually come and then download that, right? What I would say is just come up here and download from here. This Selenium standalone server, this has everything that you need to do, meaning that it not only provides you the WebDriver, which is a library, WebDriver library. Now, library right now is not a books library. We are talking about software library, which is some code, which is some, you know, code Selenium guys have written. So we want to use that library. So in this Selenium standalone, there is everything you need. You need the Selenium WebDriver, and you also need down the road, you want to do some, you know, remote, you know, testing. You want to do some, what's called parallel testing. So everything is in here. So rather than downloading individual things, you come in here and you download all the Selenium related, what's called jar files. So this is a complete one. And versioning is important. 3.01 came last September, October of 2016. This 2017, right? 2016. Before that, it was all Selenium 2. We want to refer it to as 2.x. And when it started, it was 2.1, 2.2, 2. So I did my trainings. If you go back to my videos, you know, you could find some on YouTube, or I will, if there is a you know, need, I will give you the videos from 2010, 2011 of my first classes that I was teaching. At that time, we were using 2.01, 2.02, 2.03, and it went up to 2.53. So we did trainings on almost every one of those. So 12 to 13, 18, 24, 32, 45, 53, or after 53, they stopped 2.x. So rather than I want to call it 2.24, 30, I want to call it 2.x. So now we are moving to Selenium 3.x. So there is some significant changes. If you have, somebody has taken a training on 2.x and they learn something, if they copy paste the code, it will not work in 3.x, because some of the things, not many things, but some of the things have changed. So I will be covering this, but I will also give you some videos from my old training so that you could just see how it is and stuff like that. So we have to download this jar file. So when I click on that, so as you see, it's about 21 megabytes. So we are downloading it. And once I download it, I want to right click, open the folder, and take this jar file and keep it in a particular place. So I right click, cut from here. What I would like to do is go into my folder, Selenium Java Training, and I want you to create a folder called all jars, right? So it could be anything, but you can try to keep with me, so that, you know, if there is a consistency, if you follow like the same way that I'm doing, if you have a question, sometimes I could say that, where did you keep your jar files? Is it in the same folder, all jars? So if you call it my jars, or if you call it dog, I mean, there's no harm in calling dog, but why would you keep your jar files in a folder called dog? I mean, so it's all jars make sense. My jars also make sense. I mean, it's up to you, but I call it all jars. And as we progress in this course, I'm going to be talking about Ant and Maven and Cucumber, and so at that time we will take care of that. Right now, just right-click and paste it. So in your case, it's going to be empty, right? So notice when I right-click and paste, I already have it from a previous class. I already have it. See, in the November 13th, I already, I can just cancel because it's already there. So you should be downloading those jar files. So if you see here, I have some 2.x, see here 2.x and all that I have. And we have this 3.x that I downloaded in here. So once we have the jar files, coming back here, we have to add those external jar files. When I click on it, I am going to go to this Selenium, and inside Selenium, all jars, and I can be picking Selenium standalone server 3.0, right? So I hit OK, and notice that it added that jar file here, right? Okay, so we are still doing this where I have to create a Java project that requires me to put the name and some system Java files and Selenium jar files. So I just now, I finished doing this. When I do that, take a look here. So when I finish, so there's a package explorer, and when you do that, there is something in it inside the package explorer. Now, I just completed this one, right? So now, before I go to the class, let me talk a little bit about this package explorer. So if you find that this is gone for whatever reason, it's gone. So how do you bring it back? So you could go to Window, right, Show View, and look for your Package Explorer or Project Explorer. So it's better to look for Project Explorer. So I click on Project Explorer, and here is my Project Explorer. It is showing you the name of the project. Once you expand it, it shows you my reference library, what library I am referring. So if I use any library, it will show in the reference library. So right now, you will only find Selenium in there, in the reference library. And in the system library, you'll find hundreds of them. Don't worry about that. That's fine. Now, down the road, if you remember me saying I will be using Ant, and I will be using Maven, I'll be using JUnit, I'll be using TestNG, you would say, I don't know what is all that. I don't know anything. Yeah, sure, you don't know anything about that because we are just starting. So one way of verifying that we have all those jar files is you could look into the reference. When there is a need, I will show you at that time. Okay, right now we just completed this part, which is creating a job. Now we have to create a class. So to create a class, you have to go into this source, right? Click on the source. Now, if I expand, there is nothing inside it. See that expand, there's nothing. So there you could right click on it and you could say new what? Class, new class. So if you see here, while creating a class, again, we have few things in here that we have to answer. So let me go. So you could right click, or you could also highlight it and do this and say file new class, right? Either way is fine. So when class, we have to answer some questions. The first question is, it is saying, hey, you are saving that in the source SRC as a source folder of this project. Is that okay? Yes, that is okay. Now let's talk about a package. What is a package? Package is nothing but you could have like one or more classes inside a project. I'm just showing you one class here, right? So we have to start with a one class, but down the road we will add more and more classes. So it's like when you go to shopping, you might, you are in a cart and you're putting this, you're putting eggs, you're putting like meat, you're putting like milk, and you're putting like, forgive me if you're vegetarian, I said meat, but you know what I'm talking about. You could be putting all of these things. Now, when you come to the cashier, maybe you want to organize them and you want to keep it in the proper bags or in the packages, like all the fragile things like eggs and all that should go in a different package, and your something that you would like to quickly have access to while you are driving, you want to munch on that, should go in a separate. So this is packaging, right? So here in terms of planning, you could say that, okay, I want to create one or multiple packages. So if while creating the package, you have to basically give the name of the application. Usually the name of the application is identified by its domain name, but in a reverse order. So we have TrainingRite.com, right? But in this application, I'm doing the testing for .NET. So you would be using the reverse of it, net.trainingrite. Now, this should be the actual build that you are talking about. So this is the build. So you could actually take that and put it in there. So this way, it tells you that we are dealing about TrainingRite, and these are the tests of this particular build. So this is how you could name your package, right? Again, package is needed for uniquely, placing your code so that down the road for organization purpose, it is easy that all the tests related to this build can be found under this package. All right. Okay, good. Next thing is the actual name of the class. You can also get away not even putting the package. If you don't put it, it will use the word default. It will use the word default. It's like, you're putting everything in one package, and you don't know where the eggs are, you don't know where the milk is, you don't know where the bread is, you don't know. So you're putting your hands and then you're taking everything out. But this way, you could have multiple packages like that. So it's up to you if you want to. But there's something called, standards of programming, or best practices, as we call it. In best practices, it's always suggested, or it is required to have your package. So that's what I'm putting it in there. Next thing is the actual name of this class. This class will have some test cases, right, inside, because it actually be typing our Java code, which is nothing but your test case, one test case or many test cases. So there is one test case, which is, this is the like a new member, right? So this is the new member test case, new member. Now we could have other test cases like a login test case, and we could have like a account balance or account summary test case, right? So we could have multiple test cases here. So all those test cases can go in a single class, or we can have one class for each test case, or we can have only one class and have each test case would be individual function. So that's totally up to us how we want to do it. I'll show you everything. So right now, basically, we are creating a class, and that class, let's say, will have all the TrainingRite test cases. So I can basically give it something like that also, right? And I could say test cases, right? All test cases or something like that, right? All test cases. So tr test build, now see, it's like all redundant now. Tr test build this, all test cases, anything is fine, right? So as long as this is some descriptive, it is fine. So you are giving it a name. Now the next thing is these things I will discuss later on. It's too much for us to discuss in one session. So this I will discuss later on. Now I will hit finish. Now notice what happens when you hit finish. Couple of things would happen. First of all, you will see something under this source, and you will also see something on the right side. Before, nothing showed up on the right side. Now things will show up on the right side. So I hit finish, and a couple of seconds, and lo and behold, you will see something in here. So what you see here is there's a package, and then there is a class. So I just concluded creating the class. We answer these questions here, and we created the class. Now we have to create a function. Now let's talk about the function. What is a function? A function can be called as a test case, right? As a test case. So my test case is a new member test case, right? So function is an area. Function is an area. It is a place where you will actually be typing your Java code, right? Okay, so if I go back, this is a class. This is a class. So this is, and I will talk about what this public and all that is, but this is the name of the class that we have given. And inside this class, I can have multiple test cases, right? So each test case would be like a function, right? Okay. Now, down the road, I will show you as how to automatically, create some code for the functions. But right now, I want you to see how I type it. So let's say there is one test case. The test case is about new member. So how do you create a function? You will type something like this. You will type public void, and I'll explain you what all that is, right? Probably in the next class. So public void and TC as in test case, let's say, underscore, give the name of the test case. So the name of the test case is, in this case, TrainingRite new member registration, something like that, right? Okay, so that's the empty function. To put something in the function, you have to use the curly braces open, and once you hit enter, it will close the curly braces. So what this is this is basically our function, or our, when I put 2 forward slashes, it is like a comment. It is like I can type anything in here for me, not for Eclipse, but for me. So I can say that this is the new member test case, right? And you could say that created on 01/29/2017 by something like that, right? So that's my initials. Now notice that it's a green color. That means that it's a commenter. So it's a test case, new member test case that we have created on this. And here I have to write the Java code here, right? Okay. Now I said it's a test case, right? I said it's a test case, but this is actually a function. So in Java, you can write anything. Let's say if I have to write a function, I could do public void and add numbers, right? And I can add here, I can say that number 1 plus number 2, and I can say that total equals number 1 from number 2, something like that. So this is some function that I have created, right? So that has nothing to do with some test case or anything like that. So this is a function. This is a function. I said this is a test case, but that's a comment. How will Eclipse know that a function is actually a test case? How would Eclipse know? Not because if I put a TC in front of it, how would Eclipse know? So I have to tell Eclipse that this is a test case. And the way you do that this function is a test case is because this tool can be used for developers can also use this tool, right? And developers, when they are using, they are not writing test cases. They are writing some software in some functions and all that. So how can you say okay, sorry, the connection got chopped off there for a second, so I was not speaking. So I will speak now. So how can you say that this is a test case? So what happens is there is for testers, right? Like automation testers, rather than writing too much of code and saying this is that, we can take some help. So there are some ready-made framework. So there is some ready-made code. Let's say there's ready-made there's code, and that code is called test framework. Framework again is collection, right? Collection means many classes, right? So there is some ready-made code which is a test framework that testers can use, right? So to help us, right, do our testing job easily, right? So So there are some ready-made test functions or the test frameworks available. Framework is nothing but your collection of many classes or objects and stuff like that. That will aid, that will help the testers to do our job easily. So there is a framework called JUnit framework, right? It's a test framework, and then there is a framework called TestNG framework. Right? Okay. So today I will not cover this. I will briefly introduce you to JUnit. Right? So what is the need of this ready-made or readily available framework? The need for that is it is going to help us. So the way it is going to help us is I have to tell Eclipse that, hey Eclipse, this is a test case. So how can I do that if in the beginning of this, if I use something called annotation. So this at, and if I say test, test, right? This is at the rate of, this means that it is an annotation. Annotation is a direction. It's a direction we are giving to Eclipse saying that, hey, whatever you are seeing here is a function. And that we could do by using this annotation from that ready-made framework of JUnit. So when I put at test, right now we don't have that ready-made framework added to this project, right? So when Eclipse doesn't understand something, it immediately puts this red thing in here, and it puts this red squiggly line. So if you bring your mouse next to it, then it will give you some suggestion. It is saying, sir, do you mean, it's not saying sir actually, because it doesn't know if I am doing it, who's doing it, if I'm a man, woman. So it is kind of like telling me, what do you want to do? Why did you put this test? Do you want to use JUnit framework? It is saying, do you want to use that? Because it's little smart. It can guess what we are trying to, when we say test annotation means that, okay, we are testing right now. That means that, okay, this at test comes from something like JUnit. So it says, hey, do you want me to add that? Now remember, to add the Selenium library and all that, we did this, right? So we went in here, we actually came in here, we added the we added the external jar files, because this was external. There are some jar files that come along with Eclipse when you install Eclipse. Those are called out of the box, right? So out of the box, JUnit is there. Selenium is not there, but JUnit is there. So that's why it gave you this message. It did not give you a message for TestNG. Remember, it did not give you. So it gave you a message for JUnit. So it says that, okay, somewhere I have JUnit. Do you want me to import and bring it into this project? You say, yeah. Just go ahead and do that. So when I say this, notice what happens here. This line number 1, right? So notice what happens here, and also notice what happens here. So when I do that, import, immediately it adds this import. That means that it is adding this JUnit library, right? Okay, now in Java itself, you will have that JUnit. It's a built-in support, so you don't need that external library to be added in here. You don't need, because out of the box that support is there. So now we see that, and in this test, that squiggly and the red check mark went away. So this, it knows that it's a test case now. So there is a test case. So we have one test case called new member. Now, can we have many test cases inside this class? Sure. We talked about here that there might be a need. Where is it? There might be a need for us to have login and account summary and all that. So I can go in here and I can create those functions like that. So I would do public void test case underscore login, right? And do that, curly braces begin, curly braces close. And is this a test case? You would say, oh yeah, TC. No, it is not a test case unless you put at test. And you would say, how come it is not giving me any squiggly here? It gave squiggly here because we already added this. So anytime we use test, it will be fine. So we could have one more test case. So I could do at test, and I would say public void test case and account summary, and I would do that. And now notice that we have 3 test cases. Now, did I put any code in there? Like for new member registration, what I need to, did I put any code in there? No, I did not put any code. But I can still save this. I saved it, and I can even run it. You would say, what is it going to do when you run it? I would say nothing, but when I run, it should not give me any error. So the Windows firewall blocked, so I should allow it. So all this, see here, red, that means that it did pass. Now you would say, well, why? What did you do? You did nothing. Absolutely, I did nothing. So what am I supposed to do? Login, we did not even discuss. Account summary, we did not even discuss. But you could see that these are like different test cases. We have 3 different test cases now. When I have some stuff in here, I will actually do it. But for this, we discuss something, right? And what is that? This is what I would like to do. So I can take all of this from here, Control-C, copy, and come in here. And I could put in here, Control-V to paste. And these are all, notice when I paste that, it is giving me squiggly because this is all English. This is for me. I should be writing the Java code for this, right? But this is English, so Eclipse will not understand English. So I have to tell Eclipse, don't worry about these things. These are comments for me. How do you do that? You will come up here, do a / and put an asterisk. That means that everything up to this point is, you are saying, hey, that's for me. So asterisk and / that's for me, you are saying. This is for me. And I have to implement these things. So if I start off with step number 1, open the browser. And which browser? Firefox or Edge or Chrome. Open the. Now I have to implement this, right? So let me just copy this one line, and I will have to write the code for that. So I come in here and I will say that, okay, let me write the code for this one. Okay. If I have to write the code, then I have to write the code in Java, correct? Okay. Do we know Java? The answer is no, we don't know Java. But can I tell you that there is a secret? And if I show you the secret, all this can be done in less than 10 minutes. All this without even knowing anything. No Java, no nothing. You can very easily do automation testing of anything if I show you that secret. So there's 10 minutes and I will do everything in 10 minutes because I will show you a secret here. The secret is, let's go back to, now I came back here. So we have a working test here, right? It passed and all that. Now there is a feature in Selenium IDE. What that feature does is, when you have a working, it should be working code, like what you have seen, this working commands, all of them, you should have green. You could convert this recording into Java code. You would say, wow, what is that? How do you do that? Now, to do that, it is very, very simple. If you keep an eye, if we go to options, you go to format, right? Now you can not just get Java code, but you could get C#.NET code, you could get Python code, you could get a Ruby code, you could get any code. But I'm not going to look into C#, Python, Ruby. We are looking straight into Java. Java using what? JUnit, right? There's also TestNG, but I want to use JUnit. So JUnit 4 is the current version of the JUnit. There is JUnit 3 and JUnit 4. So we are using JUnit and we are using WebDriver. So we will click on it. Once I click on it, it says that, hey, all your commands here, they will be converted into your Java code, and recording and playback may not work because you are doing this. Are you sure you want? Yes, I want to sure. Okay. So when you hit OK, lo and behold, you have all your Java code here, all your Java code, right? All your Java code. Now you're saying, whoa, I don't know what you're showing me. This is too much for me. I cannot understand what you're showing. No problem. No problem. I am going to take a deep breath. We all will take, and within next 8 minutes or so, we should be very good about all of these things. You would be like whistling. You would be like so happy, like, oh, I know this. This is simple. This is easy. Let me tell you, automation with Selenium, with Java is easy, provided you apply yourself. Right now, today, I'm showing you the secret, but down the road, you will type all of this code with your own hands, and you can literally do it with your eyes closed. You just need to just visualize, close your eyes, you just type, because I will show you it is a very easy, very easy it is, right? So right now, let's not worry too much about Java coding and all that. Let's worry about how to be very smart and take whatever we need to take from here. All right, we need to take whatever we need to. I would say, except this top line, which is the package, except that top line, take everything from here. Right from here, go all the way down, right? Highlight everything, do a Control C, take everything. Come here, right? I mean, we know I have copy pasted and all that, right? So if you go all the way up, leave the first line. After that, just delete everything. So everything is gone, right? Everything is gone. Just Control V to paste everything. Paste everything, right? Paste everything and do a save. Click on the floppy here, do a save. Okay, when you do a save, right? There are a couple of things that are happening. First of all, this what you are seeing here, this is the result of the running of the previous one. This is JUnit. So let me just close that, because I don't want to look at the previous one. I want to look at the project, right? So once you come back here, notice there is a first squiggly, if you see here, right from the top. 1 is good, 2, 3, 4, 5, everything is. On line number 12, I see a squiggly. So that is, if you see there is a red here, if you bring your mouse, let's read that. It says, oh, boss, there is a problem here. It says, I see that the solution for this is you have to rename the compilation unit to D2 Shailaja, or rename the type to tr build all test case. What happened is, when I copied, remember when I copied, I took everything from there, and that test I named it as Shailaja, right? Here, if you see here, the name of the class when I created was tr test build and all that. So it is saying, hey, either change this to Shailaja or change this to this tr build all test and all. So let's change it to all build test and all that. So I will click on that. Once I click on that, look at line number 12. The squiggly is gone, but you still see these red check marks here. Save it. So once you save, oh, the red marks also went away. So I don't see any errors anywhere in here, right? Okay, there's a lot of code. We don't know anything about the code, but yeah, just looking at it, there's something it is trying to, but don't worry about it. I will explain you all that when the time is right, which is in the next Saturday. I will do that. Right now, I just want to show you that, okay, we have no errors, right? Okay, let us run it. When I run, what do you think I am doing right now? So I am going to see here, when we copy pasted it, there is a test we copied from here. And if you look into it, we copied from here. There's something called a test. The name of the test is usually a function, right? So this public void, the name of the function was test D2 Shailaja, that's the name of the function. So if you see here, the name, this is the name of the class. We changed the name of the class here, everything good. Here, this is the test, this is the name of the function. If you want to call it whatever you want to call it, that's fine. Like you could change TC underscore new member, you know, and you could even call it like TrainingRite new member, you know, something like that. So it's just a function, right? So we save it, just a function. Now we have to run it. So when we run, what are we expecting it to do? We are expecting it to open. If you see here, I see something called Firefox. So it might open Firefox. It'll take, so I'll explain you line by line when we come back in the next class. But for now, it is going to open Firefox. go into this TrainingRite, and then it will do the following. It'll click on that, and it'll enter Shailaja, Selenium, this, and password, all that it is going to do. So, and then see assert equals, it will check if the customer information added equally is the same as that it is going to get the text from that label with the transaction result and all that. So all my explanation, wait for it in the next class. I'll explain you everything, or we will give you the videos so you can, I will give you the videos. In fact, for some of you, I've already given the videos of the whole course. So between now and the next week, if you want to like keep 2 steps ahead of me, you can watch the videos and you could learn from the videos. You could at least, you know, that curiosity of what it is and all that, you could get it, you know, taken care of watching the videos. But otherwise, when we come in the next class, I will show you. But right now, I want to run to show you that it is working. Okay, how do we do that? You come here to this green arrow and you say, click on this, say run. So right away, it is giving me an error. It says that, oh, the path to the driver executable WebDriver, Gecko, blah, 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 right? So it says that there is some problem here. So it says that there is some problem. It cannot run it, right? Okay. Now, the problem that we have is this. With 3.0, with 3.0, what happened is there are some changes. Those changes are they are using now something called Mozilla Gecko driver. They are using Mozilla Gecko driver. That's what they are using. So I got to explain you about this Mozilla Gecko driver and all that. I have to explain you about that. Since we have only 1 minute left, what I am going to do is, I told you the reason it is failing, because if you see, we added the latest version, which is 3.01, right? And if you see, look at this error. If you read this, the path to the driver executable set by, and if you, let me just make you read that. Somewhere in there, you will read that this is Gecko driver. So if you read, this is Gecko driver. So Gecko driver. So that has something to do with the Gecko driver. So what I will do is, of course, I'm going to show you everything in the next class. But for now, to fix it, I am going to, in the JUnit, I'm going to come out. I will go in here. And here, there's Selenium 3, right? I will remove the Selenium 3 and I will put the older version. And you will see that it runs fine. So you will always come back and question me, hey, how come you remove the new version? How will I make it work and all that? You know, of course, that's where we will start in the next class. But if you are like, so, no, I have to do it right now, then watch the videos. I have shared the videos of the November batch with you, and you will see that if you follow the instructions, it will show you everything as how to fix it. But right now, I am going to remove this and put the older version. So how to remove it? You have to go up here and right click on it, go into the properties. When you go into the properties, you will see here resources like that. You have to go into the third one, Java build path. So to build this code, we have to add the library. So you have to come in here, and in the library, I want to remove this. So I will select Java and I say remove, and I want to add the older jar files. So the older jar files, I have it on my machine. I'm going to take, like, let's say 253, right? I added that, so it's a 253, and I hit OK. So my 253 is added, and if I run it, it should run now. Now, before I do that, you might be saying, how are we going to get the older? Because where should we get the older version? Okay, before I run, I will give you access to all the jars. So what we have done is, this is our backup site. So I'm going to give you the jar files even either from here or I made most of you members of our members of our Google Drive, right? Members of our Google Drive. So if you go to the Google Drive, if you go here and if you go to Google Drive, so you can type drive.google.com. When you do that, you will not be seeing all of this because I'm the administrator, so I see all of this. You will not be seeing all of this. You should be seeing the Selenium. So inside Selenium, you should be seeing the jar file. So if you let me just scroll down a little bit, let it rest. And so when we cover Cucumber, these are Cucumber jar files and all that. So there are jar files for, let me scroll down, it is still probably loading. Okay, so there are jar files, as you can see. Whatever jar files we need, those jar files are here. So you could go and download from here. So as that Gecko driver is also here that I will be covering in the next class. But here you should be able to go and download the jar files from here. So it's not scrolling. Let me just, yeah. So let me just run it here and then show it to you. So here we go. So we are running it as a JUnit, and once I hit OK, now the browser should open now, and it should take us to TrainingRite.net, and it should do all those good things. It should enter Silaja's information and all that. So there it is. The browser did open Firefox, and it has to go and it has to click. Let's say if it doesn't do anything like that, if it fails, then okay, it is doing it, Silaja, and enter, and click on that, and lo and behold, it did everything, but somewhere it failed. So if you see here, you have to read the errors why it failed. I can tell you exactly why it failed, and but I will teach you all that. So let me just fix why it failed, and I will teach you all that in the next class why it failed. So it failed here. So let me save that and run it one more time. So now it will not fail. So it will open up and it will bring up the Firefox, and it will click on that link, and it will go and it will type Silaja, submit, and the test is over. And notice it did not close the browser right now. I will minimize it, but the test did pass. See the test pass, and it will show you everything about this test being passed. The reason I did not close the browser is because there was some error coming from driver.quit. So I did commented that. So rather than using driver.quit, we can use driver.close, and it will work fine. But I don't want to do things without explaining it to you. So in the next class, I will explain you everything about what is going on, but you don't really have to wait till the end of the next class. You can watch the videos. I already shared the videos with to all the registered students. Now there are one or two people who are auditing today because they could not get the link yesterday or whatever, so they came today to audit it. So if you guys want to join, you could join by going to TrainingRite.com, and you could purchase the course from here. You could go and then you could purchase the course from here. Now, for all of you who are registered students, I have shared the videos. The videos are basically, let me just close this. The videos are basically here. We, I think, yeah. So we, you have to log in. Once you log in, TrainingRite@gmail.com. Once you log in, hang on for a second, 1 second. 1 second. You know, so I appreciate you folks being here. As you saw, the fix for that gecko, as I showed you, you know, in the video. You could watch that in the November batch I showed you. But when we come back in the next class, I'll start there, show you, and then we will start to write our own script by using JUnit, you know, annotations, everything right from scratch. No copy pasting, no nothing, everything right from scratch. And we will make good use of Firebug, Firepath, and JUnit framework. And I can assure you by the end of the third session, you will have a lot of confidence in the sense that you should be able to write scripts on your own. And day 4, we will begin our framework where we will be showing you things like how to take screenshots, how to write to the logs, and how to do data-driven testing, how to create a framework wherein you should be able to create excellent reports in both JUnit as well as TestNG. And then later on in the course, we will be covering Maven and Ant and Jenkins, and I'll be taking you into BDD style of testing with Cucumber and Gherkin and stuff like that. Again, if you're in a rush, you have the videos with you, just watch the videos. Everything is covered here. It tells you everything, is here. So if you're looking for, something to do in Cucumber, we would have covered that right here. So everything like that can be,
Good afternoon. Today is the 11th of December, about 2:07 p.m. here in New York.
Okay. Sometimes my voice gets irritated. So, all right. So that's about it, my friends. I will see you back next Saturday, same place, same time. If you have any questions related to any admin stuff, you could write to our team. For those of you folks who are not purchased, you could go to the website and purchase it. For the rest of you folks who need any questions to be answered anytime, use our Google groups. We put you in the groups. Enjoy your rest of the week, and I will see you back next Saturday. Have a good one. Bye-bye.